This is what you get.
What did you do?
You cheating what?
Hello? Yeah, my wife is dead. I came downstairs. There's blood everywhere. I don't know what to do. I already told you, I was exhausted the night before her death. I woke up around 8 a.m., took a shower, and then went to go eat breakfast. Stop wasting your time with me. Don't you know there's a killer out there? Why don't you go talk to the gardener? If Kenny was right, she was arguing with someone before I was even out of bed. Oh, this scratch on my neck? Yeah, I damn near killed myself shaving the other day.
I still cry when I think about Olivia. I really don't want to answer your questions without a lawyer present.
A tragedy. Liv was such an amazing person. We were at the 4-H fair about an hour away. I remember how tired Dee and I were. We had spent the day before landscaping. It was worth it, though. Our rabbit and a goat won first prize in 2 different categories that morning.
Wife and I were sound asleep until we heard the arguing over Olivia's house. We didn't see anyone outside when we looked out the window. I didn't see the gardeners out the afternoon before. Poor Mrs. Flowers had cut herself pretty badly on a sharp branch.
Yeah, I did.
She had mentioned she was feeling ill the other day. I had no idea she was pregnant. Gee, that explains why she was so tired all the time.
She was? Wow. Whoa. How is Mr. Herman doing? Does he know?
Oh, how horrible! I didn't know they were expecting. Hello, I am Dr. Quinn Foster and I am in charge of blood typing and blood spatter analysis. So first, we take the RBS found at the crime scene and test to see if it is blood or not using the Kastle-Meyer test. Once we've determined that, we place the blood into wells to identify the type. We add anti-A, anti-B, and anti-RH antigens into the corresponding wells to see if they agglutinate. The agglutination determines the blood type. For example, we took Olivia's blood, placed a drop into all 3 wells, and added the antigens. Because the A, B, and RH agglutinated, we were able to determine that her blood type is AB positive. As you can see on my chart, Kenny's blood, which is B negative, is nowhere to be found. But Olivia's blood, James's, and Dear Frank's were found at the crime scene. And because we also tested the blood on the surrounding objects, we were able to determine that the passive blood splatter on the ground was James's, as well as the blood on Olivia's hand and the rake handle. Olivia's blood was on the rake comb, by her head, and also on the wall and ceiling. The blood on the ceiling and wall is obviously an upwards cast-off with only 1 layer, implying that she was hit once or twice with the rake. Dear Frank's blood was on the gardening tools, but because they are both O negative, we won't know whose blood it is until the gel electrophoresis.
Hello, I'm Dr. Electra, in charge of DNA fingerprinting for the Olivia Long homicide. We used electrophoresis to separate the strands in DNA, which allows us to identify whose blood is whose. Restriction enzymes cut DNA in a certain way to create strands, and by running electricity through the samples, we can see those strands. Looking at the results, we can tell, well, first of all, this is Olivia's, James's, Frank's, D's, the baby that Olivia had, the blood from under her nails on the rake handle and on the ground, and this is from the flower pot. Looking at the results, we can tell that the blood on the ground, under Olivia's fingernails and on the rake handle is actually James's blood due to the strands that we see. We use 2 restriction enzymes. The red is the main one, the green is the other one we used. The blood on the pot here is obviously D's, and by checking the baby's blood, we can tell that it's Frank's and Olivia's, therefore we can say that the baby belonged to them.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lipsy, and I studied the 8 fingerprints recovered from the crime scene. Our team used powder dusting to detect the latent fingerprints, those invisible to the naked eye. The patent fingerprints, such as the bloody handprint on the rake, were easy to see and find. We did not recover any plastic prints, like impressions in wax or clay. After obtaining prints from 3 suspects and the victim, I was able to find 3 matches that play a vital role in telling us what happened. The first match was from the fingerprint on the rake. It belongs to James Herman, and we can tell because both share the same radial loop. A radial loop is a ridge pattern that enters from the thumb side, curves, then exits from the same side. All the rest of the minutiae, or ridge characteristics, also match. James' bloody handprint on the rake confirms that he picked it up, and we know that Olivia was struck with the rake 4 times based off the blood spatter results, so it's highly likely that James delivered these blows. The second match is mug print number 1 and James Herman again. We can tell because they both have the exact same plane arc. An arc is a ridge pattern without a delta, which is a triangular intersection of ridges found once in loops and twice in whorls. The third important match is mug print number 2 and our victim Olivia. We can tell they're the same print because they have the same radial loop, wrinkle mark, and gaps. Because the mug contained the poison that ultimately killed her, and the only 2 prints on the mug belong to Olivia and James, it's probable that James is the one who put it there. Hello, I'm Dr. Cortex, and I'm a trace evidence examiner called in to work on this case. My job was to study the hair samples found at the scene to see if they held any answers to our murder mystery. I examined each piece of hair under a microscope using 3 different lenses to determine hair color, cuticle type, and the presence or absence of a medulla. All humans have imbricant cuticles and either no medulla or continuous, fragmented, or intermittent medulla. Hair cuticles are the outer shaft or scales. Medulla is the innermost layer of the hair. It's important to remember that this is class evidence, as no skin cells were discovered on the hairs. These hair samples cannot be used to determine the killer on their own. I also examined 4 other hair samples, one from Olivia Long, Kenny DeWitt, James Herman, and Frank Flowers respectively. Then, I compared the known hair samples to those found at the crime scene to see if there were any connections. Sample A was a light color and had an imbricant cuticle and absent medulla. It could belong to the victim, Olivia, as her hair matches this description and the crime scene sample was recovered beside her head. Sample B was a dark-colored animal hair with an imbricant cuticle and multiserial medulla. It was most likely brought into the home by Frank or D. Flowers, as no one else owned a pet. It was near the south exit. Sample C probably belonged to James, as both hairs had an imbricate cuticle and fragmented medulla. This seems suspicious, as the crime scene sample was near the victim's elbow on the ground, meaning it could have come out during a fight. Sample D was inconclusive. It had an imbricant cuticle and continuous medulla. Because it was found near the fallen flower pot, it seems possible that it came from D. Kenny's hair was not found in the home. It is much darker than everyone else's.
Here we have everyone involved in the crime. First we have Olivia, then we have James, her husband, the neighbor Kenny, and the gardeners, Frank and Dee. Based on blood typing, the rake head, Olivia's head, and the back wall all have AB positive blood, and that was her blood type. James has A positive blood, and on the ground, Olivia's hand and the rake handle, that's where his blood was found. Kenny has B negative blood, and it wasn't found anywhere near the crime scene. Both Frank and D. Flowers have O negative blood, and it was found on the gardening tools. Based on the statement Kenny gave, it makes sense that there would be blood because D got cut by a sharp branch the day before. As we can see, the gel electrophoresis confirms that all of the objects that had A positive blood on it belonged to James, A B positive blood belongs to Olivia, and the flower pot blood belongs to D. Also, Frank is the father of the baby. We figured this out by the gel electrophoresis by the 2 different restriction enzymes. Since Kenny's blood wasn't found anywhere near the crime scene, we were able to eliminate him off very easily. There was also not enough evidence to link Dee or Frank to the murder of Olivia, but there was more than enough evidence to link James, her husband, to the murder. James found out that Olivia was having an affair with Frank. He was so angry he wanted her dead. That's when his plan all came together. He had to have known that she liked powdered sugar in her coffee. We knew this was powdered sugar because the mystery powder reacted the exact same way as powdered sugar did in the mystery powder analysis. NaCN is a natural occurring chemical in sugar, but in large doses it's very poisonous. So the night before, James came downstairs and added more NaCN into the powdered sugar, knowing she would put it in her coffee the next morning. Lastly, we had to look at what marker was used to write the die note. We put one piece of paper in the alcohol and the other in the water to see the ink and how it would react and spread up the paper. Doing this, we found that praying was the marker used to write this. And, interestingly enough, praying was found in the Herman Long household. The next morning, James came downstairs expecting to find his wife dead. She wasn't quite there yet. Then she realized she was poisoned. They got into an argument. He grabbed her on the sides of the arms, threw her down, and then realized that he actually killed her. He then had to make it look like it was someone else, so he grabbed the rake, hit her twice on the back of the head, then put all the objects out to frame the gardeners. Then he wrote the note in his house to make it look like someone else wanted her dead. Now you have learned, with all the different techniques and information gathered, how we put it all together to figure out that James killed Olivia.